First and Now is brought to you by World Vision Canada, national charity partner of the BC Lions. Visit bclions.com/worldvision to become a supporter. Been here 2 weeks. It's our third podcast in the tournament capital, Nikki. What's going on?
Yeah, we're churning them out and trying to get all calibrated here because usually, we're talking about this in our marketing call today, usually the first weekend is Fan Fest, second weekend preseason A, and the third weekend's preseason B. But we've had our preseason game in Langford. Fan Fest is coming up this weekend, and we're all figuring this all out. But it was fun. It was nice to get back out in the field.
We just had preseason A. Normally, we're preseason B, which is technically the second week. That first game is considered A, one of those weird things. And the last week will be C in Edmonton. So we're skipping B this year. We're going A and C. I love it.
Yeah, Fan Fest is B.
Yes, presented by BCLC. If you're in Kamloops planning the trip up, it's going to be fun. 2 o'clock Saturday at Hillside Stadium. Open practice, autographs, Play with the Pros clinic, which I believe is sold out.
Dance with the Pros.
Dance with the Pros, food trucks, some beer probably. Always a fun time. And the weather looks okay Saturday, so we really can't complain about that. We have a game to recap here in just a minute. BC Lions dropping a 26-16 decision to Calgary at Langford Starlight Stadium. Loved being in Langford. Good vibes. Love the Vancouver Island crowd. Love staying up at Bear Mountain Resort. Could do that a couple more times. Why not?
No kidding.
But I wanted to make a quick announcement. We referenced this. Well, last week it went out. Moj and Julio back on 7:30 CKNW, calling the games for 2 more years. A couple of other elements to this. First and Now, Moj is going to join us every week. Yes, Matt, Nick, and the Moj starting on June 3rd. Tuesdays, we'll record Tuesdays. The show will be heard on CKNW as well in the evening. And one on location per month. The Lamplighter in Gastown. Great spot if you haven't been. We're going to record at 7 o'clock on June the 3rd as we get ready for concert kickoff. Week 1 on the horizon. Exciting times.
Yeah, the trio's back together, formerly of BC Lions on Tap, but we're bringing Moj in a First and Now, and 1 a month live show. It should be packed at every single venue. So Lamplighter week 1, gonna be a fun time. Concert kickoff, so it's gonna be a huge week. Could be sold out by then. Who knows? Still maybe tickets to give away, but it's gonna be a dandy week 1.
Recording this on Tuesday evening. If you're getting this on Wednesday morning, what have you. If you're on the fence about concert kickoff, I wouldn't wait. This is going to sell out in the coming days. Like literally, I think we're over 45,000 now. We did not announce a sellout of last year's concert kickoff until game day. I think it was like an hour before the game. I sent that out, running around doing a bunch of stuff. And I'm going to start writing, I think, because maybe by the time the weekend rolls around, we could be talking about a sellout. The anticipation is rising.
Yeah, and lost even in yesterday. I was going through our BC Lions stories on Instagram, but Snoop Dogg himself even posted about the concert yesterday. So
he did.
That was pretty cool. It's always feels good to have your work shared by celebrities, whether it's Nathan Rourke or 50 Cent or Snoop Dogg. It's always exciting. So Snoop Dogg himself is pumped up for June 7th. So yeah, like you said, big day coming.
Yeah, and we'll talk more about Snoop. We have Assistant General Manager Rob Ralph slated to join us here on this week's episode, get his thoughts on the Canadian draft picks, his thoughts on training camp overall. But we hit on it, 26-16, the Stampeders prevail. Not as much about the overall scoreboard result. We're going to talk about individual performances, of which there were some pretty impressive ones. It's always good to see the guys you track, follow in training camp practice, put it on in live, real game action. Starting on offense, like we thought, Chase Bryce got the majority of the reps. He hit Jermaine Jackson for a second half TD. Jeremiah Masoli threw the first one to David Durden. But Chase admitted it wasn't all pretty, but he's been at this a long time now. He knows when to be honest, and he knows when he has to get better.
Yeah, and Farhan even alluded to this. I got name dropped in the press conference, our post-game media availability by Farhan, but in training camp, it has been a lot of aerial attack and deep shots from Chase Bryson. I think, you didn't see that as much yesterday in Langford, but overall, there were some flashes, right? The drive off the turnover in the third quarter where Chase did find Jermaine Jackson 3 times and ended up with that slant into the end zone. You saw what Chase can do, right? He can move the ball downfield and quickly at that too. So Chase himself admitted, yeah, there's stuff to work on, but overall, like there's signs there that this guy can, perform in the CFL, and it's year 3 for him now, so he's definitely more comfortable and just a part of this, growing quarterback room that we got.
Yeah, we mentioned Jermaine Jackson, Ezekiel Tiedy, sorry, second-year grab. It's Tiedy, right? That guy, it shows the work that guy's put in the offseason, a little stronger, a little faster. Almost had a go-ahead touchdown to Poissant late, too.
Yeah.
Kieran, the former West Shore Rebel. Jordan Terrell was RB1 on Sunday, or on Monday, excuse me, so to speak. It was a Monday that felt like a Sunday, so I keep saying it's Sunday,
Most
Victoria Day.
Yeah.
31 yards, 6 carries, good downhill runner. So overall, some good sparks.
Yeah, and TD in particular, I think, is at a strong camp. We showcased that one-hander he had from Nathan Rourke in a one-on-one rep, but he's been a guy who has been finding the end zone in skelly periods and one-on-ones. He's been winning reps. I even saw him, and he was battling with Gary Peters on one-on-ones, and they were going at it. So that's always a good sign if you got Gary frustrated. So he's been a pleasant surprise, and he was a draft pick last year. And hadn't played much receiver too, TD. He was on defensive side of the ball, kind of special teams guy. So a lot of value in him, and he's also someone that works with Nathan Rourke a lot in the offseason. So,
right.
Like you said, putting the offseason work together and turning it into a good training camp so far.
Defense, 1 sack for Marcus Moore. That was a heads up play. He was like a bowling ball going through that Calgary offensive line. 5 tackles overall. We're going to talk about Jackson Finley a lot on this episode. He was very noticeable. Few tackles. And you put "we sure about that" in the notes. What's that all about?
I saw Jackson Finley involved in it. I want to say like 7 or 8.
Seem more than 3.
Yeah,
well,
we sure.
You know what the issue? The CFL doesn't track half tackles.
Yeah, that's
right?
it probably.
So that's probably
the first guy that gets their hands on the defender. But I was saying, and Jackson Finley only had 3 tackles. Are we sure about that? Because he was flying around everywhere. And to kind of tease some work we're doing throughout training camp, Jackson is one of the players we are keeping a close eye on, to leave it at that. And so we had some of our freelance videographers who were actually isolating some players, and I was going through the footage today, labeling all our clips from yesterday, and we have several examples where we're isolating Jackson Finley and he's making a play on the ball. So I'll tell you that it was more than 3 times yesterday. That's why I say that. So that was not a pleasant surprise. It was a really reassuring, and not even surprise, a reassuring moment yesterday that Jackson Finley, he can play pro ball.
Yeah. Fans are going to be excited when they see him for the first time. Robert Carter Jr., very disruptive in the secondary. Tyler Coyle with an interception. That, in fact, led to the Jermaine Jackson touchdown. I think that was late in the third quarter. Jeremy Lewis, a guy you had jotted down here, and Chase Tatterin, another rookie Canadian draft pick. Again, these guys, I don't know if you probably say maybe they're on the bubble, competing for a spot, and putting some good game film out here will certainly help their cause.
And Robert Carter Jr. has been one of the DBs that's kind of been the talk around camp here in terms of a positive. He's been one guy since he arrived here day one. He was a late arrival at the training camp, and he's been getting his hands on the ball, it seems like, every single day. And we saw that in the first quarter when PJ Walker tested him with a downfield ball, and Robert Carter was right there. And I bet he would say he wishes he actually picked that ball off, but getting your hands on it and breaking a ball up is just good enough too, right? And it's another thing I thought we saw with Finley too, where in the second quarter he had a nice pass breakup. He was playing that safety spot and came over to help Ronald Kent on a deep ball. So that was encouraging from the DBs. I know for a fact too, the coaching staff, they even liked what they saw from Robert Carter Jr. when attacking downfield too. There was a play where Calgary threw a little bubble screen or a little swing route, and Robert Carter read it, got there. So he's been impressive in training camp. And like you said, Jeremy Lewis, Chase Tatterin, from looking at my footage yesterday, they were involved in special teams a lot. I felt like Tatterin was always flying around there right at the point of attack with the returner. So that was good to see. But I guess translating this into a couple of negative points or things that it can still work on. The penalties. 11 for 187. I know Jackson Finley took a no yards penalty. That's something you're going to see a lot in CFL preseason. A lot of these guys are learning the halo. The coaches are harping that every single day, as they should, right? It's a lot of guys that are playing Canadian football for the first time ever. So the halo, and the halo is the 5 yards you get. You have to spare the punt returner on punts. That's something that's of emphasis, right? But a couple PI penalties that hurt, a couple 15-yarders. There's a TD took a unnecessary roughness penalty, right? So stuff you want to clean up, but it's preseason week 1. Now's the time to do it.
Yeah, Mark McNamee, Irish global kicker, hit 1 field goal, had another convert. He's shown his strong leg out here, and that was evident. Carl Meyer, 53.1 yard average, 8 punts. That's one of the big changes this offseason. No Stefan Flintoff, and Carl is going to be counted on, most likely to come in and shoulder that load. Nothing too, other than the penalties, like you say, nothing too concerning on specials.
No, but Carl, and I hope this doesn't come off as a diss, that this is maybe one of my favorite parts of the game, but it was Carl's first punt, because I hope this comes off as a football kind of nerd moment, but 67-yard punt.
Yeah,
that was ridiculous, and then I felt that live when I was like, I always have to move my body during the punts to accumulate for the ball traveling 50 or so yards, and definitely had to go a little extra turn there for that 67-yarder. So Carl was someone who came in last year though that was the tape on him, is he has a hell of a leg,
booming,
right? Strong leg, and that was on full display. I actually talked to Carl after the game, and I kind of just making small talk quickly said, "Hey, nice punts there, Carl, today." And he was like, "Yep, definitely got a hold of that first one." Got all of that one. So Carl was happy too. And it was a good day overall. The facility was great. The fans were great, like you said.
People outstanding.
Yeah. The island always shows up, so that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and like I said, Bear Mountain. Can't go wrong.
Yeah.
We watched the last part of the Maple Leaf game in one of the establishments nearby. A few Leaf fans on hand, and there you go.
What a hotel! I was sharing the scenery to Gary Peters last night, actually, when we came back home, and he was definitely jealous that he was not a part of our trip to Bear Mountain for the hotel. So that was a great part of it too.
I'm sure Gary made the most of his time back here.
Yeah, the boys had a big barbecue. They were saying, the vets. So
out on the on the patio back here.
They watched the game in this very boardroom. I heard.
Okay, yep.
And
good for them. Team bonding.
Yeah.
All right. Quickly hit on the injuries. Unfortunately, we talked about David Durden. 2 tip balls into his hands on the opening drive, including his touchdown. Later on, looks to have suffered a serious knee injury, ACL. So that unfortunately would bring his camp and his season to an end, and you just gutted to see that happen to a guy who was improving, looking to earn a spot. We wish him the best in his recovery. Anu Una, he left early first quarter, thinking, oh boy, here we go. This is our guy hoping to start at right guard for this Lions team, but ankle sprain, could be out a couple weeks, not as serious as we thought. Defensive back Jordan Perryman with a hamstring seems to be okay. Ditto with their respective injuries, Jacob Bond, Trey Crawford, Lucas Stoikos. So a linebacker, a D lineman, and a fullback all got dinged up. Stoikos had his arm in a sling, but did not when we saw him earlier.
Yeah,
so
some boots on the ground reporting here, yeah.
Yes, hard-hitting updates. So we wish everyone a speedy recovery, and it's going to be interesting how they divvy it up going to Edmonton on May the 30th. That's going to be the game where you think pretty much everyone healthy is going to dress and give all the veterans some time in the first half before making way to some of the younger players that they're looking at. So, and again, a bit of a quirk in the schedule this year, not playing this coming week, but that gives the staff a lot of time to evaluate things.
Yeah, and it's something we'll get into with Assistant General Manager Rob Ralph. Still a lot of staff out here. They're using this we have to figure out when we're using this room, because if we're not in it, the personnel team is in this evaluating guys. The coaching staff is watching film after they get back from watching film at the facility. So It's that time of the year where you're pretty much wall-to-wall football.
All right, Rob Ralph in just a couple of minutes. Head to our YouTube page, Training Camp Reports, doing multiple of those a week. We'll get back in the saddle on Wednesday this week with the reports. Arrow Up is in production. Several great interviews have been conducted. More on the way. You've sat in on some meetings, so this whole building process we're talking about is going to be chronicled later on and in the regular season. And again, BC Lions YouTube page, bclions.com, wherever you get your podcasts, you're listening to this. Be sure to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. And we'll get Rob Ralph's thoughts, not only on his path that led him to assistant general manager with the BC Lions, a fairly neat background, a little unorthodox for those working in personnel. We'll have our usuals, go for it or punt, they not like us. No trivia today?
I'm telling you, trivia is learning every guy's name and number here. I said that from the get-go. And
June 3rd, Lamplighter trivia. Be there, okay?
We're making some good progress though on that. I think I don't know if you want to quiz me or I can quiz you back, but I feel like I'm getting pretty.
I'm starting to know faces a little bit better.
That too.
Went up to Jermaine Jackson at breakfast to book him for Moj and Julio, and we should mention Moj and Julio doing shows all week on CKNW, 10 o'clock. CKNW and across the Lions Audio Network and wherever you get your podcasts. So
one of my favorite stories too from last week. So Friday was our camp media day where you do the TSN headshots and we do our starting lineup fulfillments and all of that. The videos that we do like the Sunday Night Football style, and so that helps me a lot too when you hear their names. That's why I know that Chase Tatterin is spelled or pronounced Chase Tatterin because he says his name out to me. But Deontay Williams. He walks into the room and I go, Deontay, we'll get you, what size jersey you're wearing? We'll get you behind this. And he goes, you know my name? And I'm like, yeah, that's my job, man. Like that's what
you were on this podcast for crying out loud. Yeah.
But that's what he, so that's how we learn, right? Yeah, repetition every single day. And we're getting that done here.
Excellent. Yeah, it's a good way to learn the pronunciations. You're right.
Tatterin.
I might have to take some of those so I can, when people ask me, how do you pronounce this guy's name? All right, Rob Ralph coming up on First and Now. And we have our guest on site here at beautiful Thompson Rivers University. Got a nice view back here that we've been enjoying and got about a week and change to go, only hard to believe, but it is Assistant General Manager Rob Ralph, still heads up all the Canadian draft activities, and what an exciting one it was this past year. Rob, welcome. Thanks for stopping by.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
First off, how you holding up? I know it's been a couple days. For those who don't know, you are a massive Toronto Maple Leafs fan, and I texted you from Langford on Saturday night or Sunday night, whatever
Sunday
it was.
night, yep. It was a tough loss Sunday night. Don't know how to articulate or put it towards the disappointment that I feel for the Leaf Nation, but we'll move on from that, and can't wait for the CFL season.
Well
really,
said.
really, there's
short and
not,
sweet.
Not much I can say other than can't wait for the next NHL season. But right now we're talking about CFL, and that's what I'm excited for. The Lions of 2025. So
that's right. Yes, we'll change the karma up here, talking BC Lions football. About 10, 11 days into it now. You've been here for most of it. I think you came just after the veterans were around. What stood out this camp for you?
The tempo. High intense tempo, the speed that our guys are playing with right now is good to see. It's early in camp. Usually we see this later on when guys have learned the playbook and are just reacting, but it's happened quick. I love the tempo here. I love the speed I see. I love the sounds, everything like that.
And how much of that is Buck Pierce is doing?
It's the coaching staff. They've taken this collection of talent, and they've made this camp intense and high tempo. So it's great to see. It's great to watch, and it's easy to evaluate when everybody is moving at a fast pace.
You, this is your first time, I think, working with Buck Pierce, but any other prior history before? Do you cross paths, or what is it you like about him?
Oh, Buck is just he's a great coach, great communicator. Have we crossed paths? No, other than when I was with Edmonton. Watching Buck rip us apart back in the 2000s. But other than that, Buck and I have not crossed paths, other than watching him, at Winnipeg and grow as a coach, coordinator, and now as a head coach here in BC.
A big part of your portfolio remains heading up the Canadian draft and that whole scouting process. It's a year-round business for you. But as far as the rookie draft class, how are they holding up? What's your thoughts?
Just impressed. They're slowly getting better every day. This is such a big step for the Nationals coming in. I don't think you can quite articulate the step that they take from university to pro ball. Going from high school to college is one step, but going from from college, university to pro ball is a big step. These guys have handled the speed well. They've got a little bit better every day. Now it's up and down for them because they're learning a big playbook. They're learning new stuff. So they're doing a good job, every day trying to get a little bit better. That's all we ask them to do is just get a little bit better every day.
How about yesterday in particular? Because it felt like Jackson Finley was everywhere. He played a full 3 quarters. Chase Tatteran was getting involved in specials. Alex Berwick was playing some center.
Yep.
What did you see from that class yesterday?
Just getting a little bit better every single day. The guys were out there. They were flying around. Jackson was flying around in the backfield there, made a few plays. Chase on special teams was running around. Berwick got in for a few snaps. So they got their feet wet. They got to feel the speed. They got to make some plays. They got to make some tackles, and that's what we wanted them to do, just to get that experience. Game experience is so important in this class, and we hope that they get enough experience in training camp in the preseason games.
One thing that I thought stood out yesterday with Jackson Finley in particular was post-game, and we actually clipped it for our social media where he talked about the processing, and Jackson admitted that's a strong suit of his game, and that's why he's been able to, kind of like take the next step to the professional level where guys are faster, bigger, stronger, all of that. Yep. But it's no secret that Jackson, back when you guys were in the recruiting phase, or scouting phase, was a intelligent, high IQ guy.
Yep.
Just go into that, because even Rig Maiden said he was the best interview he's ever seen. So like this infamous interview. What do you remember about Jackson Finley when you guys were recruiting him?
Well, Jackson is a very cerebral football player. All my research done on Jackson from Western is that he is very cerebral football player, high IQ, knows what the other team is doing, so he is quick to react to plays. So just going back to that interview, Jackson was prepared. He knew everybody in the room. He knew his competition, and he's just a very well-rounded individual who takes a lot of pride in, his studying and his physical preparation and everything like that. So
he's, of course, been playing safety. We had another pretty good Canadian draft pick step in and earn that spot last year, Christophe Beaulieu. What can you see happening there? Jackson could play multiple positions. Nothing but good options there, right? When evaluating who's going to play where, perhaps.
Yeah, well, competition breeds, competition. So our competition breeds, good talent, right? Yeah. So we want to bring in the more, talented football players to push those talented guys that we brought in the past. So we feel we have a pretty good collection of talent here, but a collection of talent doesn't get you anywhere. It's the cohesion of the talent that builds a team, right? That makes a team. So we need to, put this talented group together, and there needs to be mesh and cohesion to build a team, to make a team. So.
Last 2 years, of course, we've been awarded with an extra draft pick for Canadian snaps, and the original pick we were awarded was what we used up to trade up to get Jackson Finley, going 19 to 16. How much pride does the organization take in that? Give you some more opportunities to accumulate more talent, right?
Yes. Well, that's it put us in a great position, obviously, due to our first round picks. So by playing more Canadians, obviously we're rewarded with these draft picks, and obviously if you can get a local talent like Jackson, then that's just that's great. So we'll continue to play our nationals and hopefully get more picks in the future.
Draft day last month, we captured it. We had cameras in there and actually captured all the Jackson Finley trade. That was the 4 minutes in real life that it took to execute. But that was your first draft day with the BC Lions in person. You had been in Zoom before. So
Correct.
What was that experience like, being with Neil, Coach Buck, Coach Benavides, and making the picks, calling them and everything and all that?
Well, it was just great to be in the war room. It's hard sometimes sitting back in London, Ontario on a screen, and you're trying to get the feel of the motion in the room. And so just being here in person and obviously experiencing it was so much fun, and just to be around the guys and to call up the draft picks when they're or we were going to mention their names. So that's one of the highlights of my career, is calling these kids and telling them they've been drafted, and to be in BC and to be in the war room with Neil and Riggs and Coach Pierce was great. It was a great experience, and look forward to many more.
And it's been about, I think we were saying, about 15 years of you now being involved in CFL draft days.
Yeah.
Do you still, especially with a day like yesterday in Langford, do you still get, proud, or you feel good about, you see a guy like, there's Finley, number 11, it's his first game, Berwick's at center. Does it still make you proud?
It's the best part of my job is giving, these young athletes an opportunity to live their dreams. And so I'm watching them. Yeah, I mean, I all feel like they're my kids. Every time I turn on a TV or see another team and somebody that I've drafted, then it makes me feel good. Obviously, to give someone an opportunity to live their dream. So, and really, it's them. I'm just giving them an opportunity. They've done all the hard work.
Yeah.
So
there you go. Yeah, taking an opportunity and running with it. So you've been with the Lions since 2019. Of course, you come over when Ed Hervey was in charge and end up becoming head of Canadian scouting and now assistant general manager. But take us back to your path and how you got into this. You went to NAIT for broadcasting, correct?
Yeah. So back in 1999, I graduated from the University of Western Ontario and came out to Edmonton in 1999 and went to school at NAIT, which is the Northern Alberta Institute of Technology in Radio and Television. I was going to be on your local sports broadcast, TSN, ESPN, wherever someone would give me a job.
Shock jock.
Yes.
Yeah.
Who knows? Anything to be on radio and television. I wanted to follow sports. I loved sports. And while I was going to school, I also worked for Aquila Productions, which did the Edmonton Oiler games. And I happened to cable pull for the fan cam there as well in 1999. Anyway, the Edmonton Eskimos, I believe Tom Higgins was looking for someone to videotape their practices and help in the video department. And my name was put forward, so I had an interview with Tom Higgins, the GM of Edmonton at the time, and he hired me, and that was 26 years ago, and I never left the building, so to speak. I made sure that they hired me back every year, and I guess I'm here 26 years later in the CFL with the BC Lions. So
you mentioned Tom Higgins, Ed Hervey, and Paul Jones. Was it also helped you along the way? How influential were they?
So Paul and Ed were my two mentors that taught me a lot about scouting and how to get into the business and what to look for in an athlete and what to look for in a CFL player and how to build a team. And so they were great mentors, and I owe a lot to them for what their knowledge that they gave me and the opportunity that they gave me in Edmonton.
Obviously, when thinking about Edmonton in that era, you think Ricky Ray, Jason Tucker, of course, our receivers coach. Any memorable moments with Ricky Ray throughout the years?
Yeah, 03 and 05 and 2015. Ricky and the group rewarded me in some Grey Cup rings. But again, just going back to Edmonton, it was the players that you drafted that maybe were in the later rounds. Like one of my favorites was the Kwaku Boateng in the 5th round, who ended up having a fairly good career. That 2016 was probably my favorite draft. But 2015, the last pick in the draft was a fellow named Blair Smith, who ended up starting in the Grey Cup for us. So he went from Mr. Irrelevant in the draft as a national to starting on defense against the Ottawa Redblacks in the 2015 Grey Cup. And that's gratifying for a scout when you see your player who was, drafted lower, but make the starting lineup in that year's Grey Cup. That was very rewarding. So there's a lot of rewarding players like that back in Edmonton, and I'm creating those here in BC, which is fun.
Love to hear that. I was actually just looking up Shamad Chambers too, was a draft pick. He was the MVP in that Grey Cup.
Yes,
right? So
another former draft pick. So
yeah. That's huge, yeah.
Yeah, that's actually I've told you this, but that was being from Winnipeg. That was the first Grey Cup I ever attended.
Oh, really?
And I remember Ottawa got up to, it was Rick Campbell's Ottawa Redblacks, and they got out to it was a 14-0 lead right off the bat, right?
Yes,
and
they did.
Ottawa's
Chris Williams did some damage early that game for Ottawa.
But it was Ottawa's going to pull this off, and then Mike Riley does Mike Riley things, and Sean White.
Whitey.
Yeah.
So
what about on the topic of Sean
Odell
White?
Willis.
Yeah, lots of guys there. But on the topic of Sean White, you've been with him throughout a chunk of his career.
Yep.
I'm guessing you're not surprised to still see him, at his peak.
No, Whitey is the ultimate competitor. You know what I mean? In scouting, we talk about these 3 C's. I mean, there's the other stuff, but we talk about character, coachability, right? And compete. Mm-hmm. And Sean's got this compete level that not too many people know. I mean, he's small in structure, but his compete level is very high. And obviously he works every year to get to where he is. And he's been a great, Edmonton player and a great BC Lion. So, and Alouette as well.
Alouette. Yep.
So, but Whitey he's
Surrey Ram.
Lasted the test of time, so to speak. And he's a tough one to replace.
He's got many years left. We have a feeling he'll be around for a while.
Yes, he does.
What are you looking for the rest of camp? I mean, again, we mentioned it. We kind of turned a corner here, but this is crunch time, right? Guys who are on the bubble will only have a few more days to really show their stuff before we get into another game action in Edmonton.
Yeah, we're just looking again to get better every day, and I like to reiterate, training camp is a collection of talent that the scouts have brought in. Whether you're from youth sports, NCAA, UFL, or NFL, we've brought them here, and we've brought them to the coaches to mesh. We need this cohesion of talent in order to build a team, and that's what we're doing. We're not building a collection of talent here. We're building teams to win. So, and that's what we'd like to see moving on forward. And it gets busy here. We got to evaluate quickly. We got one preseason game left, and we got to go. So we got to roll into the season against Edmonton, firing on all cylinders, and that's what we're doing here.
I know one other market too that we've tapped into, and I think it's fair to say we have maybe the strongest group of these guys is the Globals. And I know that's something that Derek Oswald handles.
Yep.
But you probably have your hand in that ring too.
Well, we all evaluate everybody. So, and Derek and Parker have done a great job, evaluating the Globals and bringing these guys in with strong legs, And Tebow's having a great camp. This is a good competition from the Globals. This is the, first year where I can honestly say we can pick, any amount of these Globals, and they can definitely add to our team. So we're quite happy with what they've done at training camp so far, and happy with the work Derek and Parker have done in the off season to get us these guys.
Parker Hall wearing many hats. It's good to see.
Yep, the more you can do in the CFL, right?
Yeah,
more
absolutely.
valuable you are. Yeah.
Yep. Hey, bring it full circle before we let you go. Back to the hockey talk. You were saying you ran into one Adam Foote last week.
Well, apparently he was on my flight from London to Toronto. I wasn't quite aware that he was going to be making his Vancouver head coaching, debut, a press conference a couple days later. But I was on my flight. I was leaving London, Ontario, where I reside, coming out here, and he was on the flight from London to Toronto. So I noticed he was on the flight sitting up front. So I'm wondering where he was going, but I found out a couple of days later that he was signed in Vancouver. So
you could have put your old broadcast journalism hat on and gone for a scoop. Say, you getting the job or what?
I could have had the scoop for Vancouver and all of the Canuck fans out there, but hey, good luck to them. Yep.
Small world, though.
Yep. Like the way that that guy played on defense for the Avalanche. So
was a rock.
Hopefully he can bring that gritty and toughness to the West Coast.
Yeah, definitely. I guess Farhan still gets the scoop at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll leave it up to the pros, okay?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh yeah. You could have overtaken Farhan too. There you go. Anyway. This has been great. Best of luck the rest of the way, and I know people were very excited about the draft. Jackson Finley, of course, we've pumped his tires a lot, and look forward to seeing him head toward his ceiling. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Well, Jackson deserves all the acclaim that he's getting. He's worked very hard in his college career, and we look forward to him being aligned for many more years, and all of our draft picks who've done extremely well in this year's training camp.
Well said. Rob Ralph, BC Lions Assistant General Manager. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We'll see you at dinner.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Yes. Pretty good conversation there with Rob Ralph. And you like stories like that, from a broadcast background to working in football ops. And I was going to reference it, but he came over here at a time where everyone from Edmonton was coming over here. Ed Hervey came as general manager. You had Mike Riley and a whole slew of players, and Rick Lawlisher, of course, around that time. So people migrate west. It's what they do. It's good. But good stuff with Rob, and an interesting insight on how he views talent evaluation and competition when talking about Jackson Finley. It's a good problem to have. You have a guy who could play starting safety, perhaps, and we have a good one. You can shuffle guys around. Competition breeds all that.
Yeah, and one of those interviews where after we stopped recording, the conversation kept going and we got some other good stuff out of Rob. So I thought it was really cool. We got into the 3 C's where he's talking about how they evaluate guys, but then he started talking about the 3 S's. So that's more of a quantitative measure where they measure size, speed, and skill, right? So
Yeah.
There's a grading process. It's very thorough. It's why Rob is doing this year round, right? And as our other scouts across North America for the various ways we bring in players here. But Rob's been doing a great job. I like Jackson Finley yesterday. I know we keep talking about him, but right now we're literally thinking he's Mr. Perfect, right? And, and that's what Rob and our staff thought when they were going through the scouting process with Jackson too. So, it's cool to get his insights and cool to have him around here too.
Very well, and always love the chance to talk with players, coaches, personnel, and our first-time guest on First and Now. He was giving us a hard time. He's like, finally. So there we go. It won't take another 2 years and change to ask for him back. I can almost guarantee that. All right, wrapping it up with Go For It or Punt. They Not Like Us. You want to lead this one off, Nikki? Go for it.
Yeah, I'll bat lead off here, but I'm going to the NFL for this one because last week was the NFL schedule release. And what comes with it are the social teams, NFL schedule release content pieces. I will say off the top that our Nathan Rourke GeoGuessr video, I think it stacks up right with several or majority of their average NFL teams. Yeah. So that's impressive too, because we are unfortunately not bringing in full production sets or partnering with Apple like the Baltimore Ravens did for their NFL schedule release video. So with the resources we have, I think we did a killer job, and I thought that from the get-go. But my long-winded point is that NFL schedule releases are my go for it. There are some great ones. My top rankings that nobody asked for, the Chargers are number 1, and I think that's kind of like just for granted now. They're the kind of the gold.
They're usually the
gold standard
of the crop,
yeah.
Right?
So they did Minecraft this year with a ton of witty jokes. I recommend checking that out. That was amazing. The Baltimore Ravens did. They pretty much remaked Severance, which I was all over.
Haven't watched it yet, but I've heard it's good.
So the Ravens did a 6-minute kind of remake of the entire show where there's little inside jokes throughout it. And the production value was incredible. They're my second favorite. And then I like the Jets. So the Jets took a YouTube comment of somebody saying we should draw the schedule. Or I think I actually have that wrong. But anyways, they had somebody draw the schedule, but it was like a continuous drawing where you zoom in and it just keeps zooming into different aspects of things. It was really cool. And then the Panthers I like too. I don't know if you saw this one, but it was Xavier Leggett, right? Good personality. So they made
did not. I have to check this.
It was kind of like a confessional like circle. And Xavier Leggett was, he's like the kind of Southern accent. They made Xavier Leggett. He confessed that he was actually a high class individual with like fine dining and wine and everything. So that was really funny. They had him like dubbed over in a different voice. But a lot of good stuff overall in the NFL.
Who was it that trolled the Minnesota Wild? Was that Chicago?
Chicago was like they were
no, someone you heard this, right? Someone when they went to whenever they're playing the Vikings, they show a thing, Minnesota Wild, the only team, whatever.
Chargers.
That was Chargers.
Yeah, they had a banner. Good. Yeah, they had a banner. Yeah,
8 times in the first round loss.
Yeah, it was the Chargers. But the Indianapolis Colts had to delete their video. Actually, I'm a little stay woke on that one. That maybe was on purpose to draw up buzz. There was that rumor.
What did they do again?
They deleted their video because they made mockery of the Tyreek Hill arrest. But
yes,
that could be just to generate buzz. That's a storyline right there. And it's kind of like
could be.
It's like a OG version of it, long lost tape. So Tyreek Hill thought it was funny himself though, so he came out and said that. So, but yeah, NFL schedule release, great content as usual. It was good watching them all.
Week 1, I'll be in Seattle. I hope Niners at Seahawks. All right,
there's that too. Yeah.
Lemon water in hotels. You know what I'm getting at?
That's a good one.
So we get to Bear Mountain. Not a long travel day, but it's long. Got to be at the bus. Got to be on the plane. Another long bus ride. Oh, there's some lemon water. So got myself some of that while I was waiting for the elevator. One of the many cool elements of Bear Mountain. Great place.
Hotel Sask does cucumber water a lot too.
Yep.
I'm probably more of a cucumber water. Like if I had to rank them, I'd probably go cucumber, lemon, and then they usually do like
cucumber's pretty good.
There's usually like a pomegranate or kind of like berry-based one too, but I that's kind of my bottom tier. So
all right.
Yeah, lemon and cucumber can't go wrong.
Hotel Sask twice this year. There you go.
Don't have to remind me.
All right, what are you punting?
So the Edmonton Oilers have advanced to the Western Conference Final, and the first thing that popped in my mind, or even before this had become a thing, was we are traveling to Edmonton next week or at the end of the preseason, and I was waiting for that schedule to drop to see if their games aligned with when we are there. And I am punting the Edmonton Oilers regular season, because if they had finished with more points than the Dallas Stars, you and I would be getting tickets to Game 5 of the Western Conference Final in Edmonton, Alberta. But unfortunately, that game is in Dallas that night. So,
yes.
So it's obviously a first world problem, and super grateful for even the fact that we get to travel to cities like this and these opportunities arise. But really, Edmonton, that would have been a great moment. We did get to see a MLB playoff game back in 2022.
Mariners, Blue Jays, yeah,
in Toronto,
Memorial Cup.
That was my heart sank as a first world problem.
So. Edmonton 101 points, Dallas 106. So there was a really bad Oiler. It was after the Four Nations face-off where the Oilers just stunk.
Yep.
And you know what's weird? They're in another conference final, third time in 4 years. They've barely had home ice at all in any series.
Yeah.
Right? They haven't won the division since the 80s. Last year, they would have had home ice against LA, and then that was it, of course. Canucks, not home ice. Stars, not home ice. Stanley Cup final. And they haven't had home ice in any series this year. Now, if they get to the Stanley Cup final, they will have home ice, because they had, I think, more points than both Carolina and Florida. So there's something. But I'm with you. We'll be there the night before. We'll be there the night of Game 5, the night before we play.
When we travel in.
And we were out with Dwayne watching the Oilers and Golden Knights about 10 days ago, and we were kind of doing the math. Okay, if they win this series, and it starts, say, the middle of this week, which it is, we might be there for a Game 6.
Yeah.
But not to be.
Our pal Tyler Gammon was even thinking ahead of that with Winnipeg when we go there in June, that could align with the Stanley Cup final. But
not anymore.
The Winnipeg Jets have yet again underperformed in the playoffs. So there's that.
All right. Yeah, that would have been something. Definitely would have been something. We don't go to Edmonton during hockey season.
No.
Do we?
I'm always waiting for a Montreal one too. I know we're kind of getting off topic here, but
we're always there in the summertime.
But I hear so much about the Bell Center and even the atmosphere this year.
I did a tour of the Bell Center once.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Not the same, but well, we can always settle for a Regina Pats game in October, can't we? Okay, what am I punting? Oh, love everything about Kamloops except if you're watching this, it's pretty nice outside our window here. But it rained off and on about 4 times this afternoon. The temperature changes. I'm punting the constant weather roller coaster. I hate it. How do you dress appropriately?
Well, even Lions in Langford had that vibe to it too. It was pouring rain during individual warm-up, and then it cleared up a bit. We got a windstorm. We got sun in the post-game. It was a little bit of everything.
Definitely the same vibe, yeah.
So I'm here. I'm with you, though.
All right. They not like us. To wrap it up.
Well, I myself have never beat a team 5 times in Game 7 games, but Brad Marchand has. So Brad Marchand is not like us because he is a perfect 5-0 against the Toronto Maple Leafs in Game 7 situations, which is just a ridiculous stat. Paul Maurice, too, head coach of the Panthers, he is 6-0 in Game 7. So those guys, they have what it takes. And I love to see players and coaches and whomever that arise when the moment gets big. And those 2 guys definitely embody that.
Yeah, Brad Marchand, 4 times Bruins over the Leafs, all those in Boston. So that was his first time doing it in Toronto, too.
Yeah.
The Leafs haven't won a Game 7 since, 2004, right?
Yeah. Well, even Dwayne was telling me the Leafs have never advanced past the 3rd round because when they used to go, there was only 3 rounds in the Stanley Cup.
They've never played and here's another one. They've played games in July, never in June.
I don't even get that.
2020 bubble.
Oh, yeah.
So they've yet to play a game in June, right? But they have played in July. That's
the infamous Columbus Blue Jackets.
Yes.
Series.
Was that a 5-game series?
Yeah,
3 games to 2?
Pierre-Luc Dubois got a hat trick,
Yeah, I remember watching the Canucks Wild play-in series in Whistler with my family.
What a time.
Good. Oh, we live to tell about it. Peter DeBoer, another guy who's never lost a Game 7, too, by the way.
I don't have the number in front of me, but it was in my mind.
He's 7-0.
7-0, yeah.
So if it's Dallas and Florida and it goes 7, what happens?
Something's
I don't know.
Got to give, yeah.
All right. How can you not love what Sidney Crosby's doing? 37 years old or soon to be 38. He doesn't have to say yes to going to the World Championships, but, he does it for, obviously, love of the game, love of Canada. He wants to stay on the forefront, obviously, for the Olympics next February in Italy. And you see him on that back check. He's hitting guys, and Canada lost to Finland in a shootout, so that's his first time losing a double IHF game since 2010.
Nuts.
In the Olympics. Of course, the Four Nations isn't double IHF. It's run by the NHL. Ditto for the World Cup of Hockey, which he won in 2016. So just love seeing Sidney Crosby still doing that, and he'll be the captain, I'm sure, and he'll be a force in Milan and Torino next February.
Yeah, the other thing about the World Championships that's bizarre to see for me is Nathan McKinnon, the Nate dog, wearing number 9. I can't get used to that.
Yeah.
I can't get used to that. 29 McKinnon is essential, so number 9 is a little odd, but he's giving it. The reason why he's wearing number 9 is because Marc-Andre Fleury is wearing 29.
The veteran gets the number, right, in that situation.
And Fleury's kind of last.
Well, there's another one, Marc-Andre Fleury.
So,
it's not retiring yet. The World Hockey Championships, I know it's kind of easy to fall by the wayside and not easy to pay attention to. It's played in Europe, in this case in Sweden and Finland, I believe. So best of luck to Crosby, McKinnon, Fleury, and all of Team Canada.
Hell yeah.
All right, one last plug. BC Lions YouTube training camp reports, cool videos. We're compiling Arrow Up. BCLions.com as well. All kinds of training camp feature stories. And only one more podcast to go in Kamloops. We'll do another one next week. We'll reintroduce Cam Tucker of BCLC in the regular season as well. That will become a weekly segment between the lines. All right.
Let's do this. Back to training camp.
Go Lions, go. Back next week on First and Now, a presentation of World Vision Canada.